like to call to order the June 2nd, 2022 Vision Zero Advisory Committee meeting. Staff, if you could please call the roll for quorum.
At this time, I'm only asking those VZAC members attending in person to respond by saying "here" when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button at the base prior to responding. You'll see the little red light come on so you know it's on. Alternates, please also state your name if you are attending on behalf of a VZAC representative. Tracy Phelps?
Here.
Bruce Rosenzweig is absent. Craig Pinder?
Here.
Ted Goodenough?
Here.
Joanna Peluso?
Here.
Joanna Oliva?
Here.
Can I have you pronounce your last name for me?
Huh?
Oliva, thank you.
Thanks.
Joanne Scaria?
Here.
Fadi Nassar? JC Beery? David Willich?
Here.
Jean Matthews?
Here.
Yash Nagal? Michael Owens? Kyle Berg?
Here.
John Roach?
Here.
Larry Wallace?
Ruben Hay for Larry Wallace.
Brian Ruscher is absent. Stephanie Thoburn?
Here. Okay. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. I have the following members requesting VZAC permission to participate remotely. It's just Michael Owens due to staffing shortages at the school district, and he has joined us online.
Hi, Michael. Are there any members that have any objections to Michael Owens attending remotely? Morning, Jason.
And Madam Chair, I will just note for the record that JC Beery has joined us.
Great. Seeing no objections, then Michael, you're approved to participate remotely and note his attendance virtually. Okay, so we have the minutes next for May 5th, 2022. Are there any changes to the minutes? I have one change. It's right at the beginning. It says Chair Thoburn called the meeting and
You weren't here.
I wasn't here.
We'll update that.
I wanted to be here, but I wasn't here. So if that's the only change I had. Is there any other changes? Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Joanne. Second.
Second.
John Roach. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No. Okay, so general public comments and comments from on agenda items. It says, I guess there's no.
Yeah, we have not received any public
Okay.
comments at this time.
All right, so then are there, I've got some chair comments and member comments. First, I'd like to welcome Village of Wellington, Kyle Berg, and Christian Santa Gonzalez. He's been here before. Okay, but welcome, Kyle.
Thank you.
And so we're happy to have you. Are there any other comments from the? Oh.
I just have one comment. So as a health representative, I know that the TPA is involved in the Health Council and Florida Department of Health's Community Health Improvement Plan. I was just wondering in like maybe a potential future meeting or as part of like the liaisons report, we could just kind of hear what the TPA's involvement will be in the Community Health Improvement Plan. Because I know with, obviously the Vision Zero Advisory Committee cares about the health and wellness of our community. And I just would like to learn more about how they plan on contributing to that.
Great. Mr. Goodenough.
Thank you very much, Chair. First, I want to thank the Vision Zero Advisory Committee for inviting a person from the community of this disabled to join the committee and give a different perspective. I am not just part of this committee, but I'm the assistant to the Americans with Disabilities Act coordinator for the city of Boynton Beach. So it's a job, but it's also a passion for me to represent the community. And I am wearing a clear mask so that those who lip read can understand what I'm saying and participate fully. I do also want to speak to any presenters. Not everyone can see. Some people call in on their phone. And if you would describe any charts, graphs, or images on your slides, it would be much appreciated. Thanks.
That's great. And oh, I did find out from Miss Amanda, Miss Cassidy there that since the board is socially distanced, we are allowed to remove our masks during the meeting. So that may help some of those who are more comfortable. So I had a couple comments. One is I'm excited because I was jealous of Delray, and Brian brought up that they were adopting a resolution embracing Vision Zero. The town of Jupiter has a resolution before the council to adopt Vision Zero next week. So, and then following that we're in the process of doing our ear-based, and then our evaluation and appraisal report. And then we'll be doing ear-based amendments to include Vision Zero in our comp plan. So we'll be moving forward with that and incorporating it. So that I'm pretty happy to say that we're doing that, and everyone should do that. So, okay, so the
Madam
next
Chair,
item.
if I may, I just wanted to note for the record that Fadi Nassar joined us.
Welcome, Fadi. Traffic is getting a little better now that season's over. Okay, so the VSAC liaisons report on Andrew Euler.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. First is we have exciting news on a staff update. Gregory Gabriel, who's been with us for 4 years as a planner on the program development team, will be moving over to multimodal development team, and he's going to be the transit coordinator for the TPA. So he'll be a lead planner here at the TPA. Excited to have him in that role. That role also has him serving as the Transportation Disadvantage Local Coordinating Board liaison, which is another a group that meets 4 times a year. Next is Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program. This is a federal grant program that's open right now for applications. It's due by September 15th. There's both planning and infrastructure dollars available. So not only the planning, but you can implement projects as well. It's like a 40-60 split on where the money is going to go towards that. You can get more information at transportation.gov/SS4A. So with that, Chair, you mentioned, Jupiter is moving forward with Vision Zero. If you have municipalities out there who are looking to do projects or even have a Vision Zero action plan, if you'd like to speak with us and coordinate as a whole about how to move those forward and maybe apply to a grant, you can reach out to me and we can get that going. This would be a great avenue if you're looking for funds to even put a plan together. Next is the Steroid A1A resurfacing project from south of Lake Avenue to north of Ibis Way. There's a public meeting scheduled today, June 2nd at 6 p.m. and that's going to be over on Palm Beach Island. You can attend in person at the Tideline Ocean Resort, and then you can also attend virtually online. Next is the Walk Friendly Communities designation. This is for communities be designated for walk friendly, and the applications are due on June 15th. And you can find out more information at walkfriendly.org. The next one is bicycle friendly business. So another designation availability. And this recognizes employers to encourage more welcoming atmosphere for bicyclists. Applications are due by June 15th, and you can find more information at bikeleague.org/business. And then on June 17th is National Dump the Pump Day. And this encourages commuters to forego their cars by using public transportation. That's what we're pushing for by our TPA staff here on that day as well. And so if you can, try to encourage your employers and your friends to dump the pump and use public transportation on that day. And you can find out more information on transportation options at Palm Beach, tpa.org/transit. The Port of Palm Beach is doing a master plan update. and the draft is going to be available in August of 2022. There's more information at planportapalmbeach.com. And I was just looking at their website for planportabeach.com, and they also have their first public meeting tonight on June 1st today. And there's going to be one at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And that's going to be at the Riviera Beach Event Center. You can find more information on the website there. They also have a survey that's live for the community. So if you want to go out and fill out that survey, and then they're going to also have that meeting held virtually, and there'll be other meetings throughout the process. There's also a highway grade crossing safety action plan that was created by FDOT, and it's been submitted to the FRA for approval. If you want to find more information about what's in that action plan, you can visit fdot.gov/rail. And lastly, our next TPA governing board meeting is going to be held on June 16th at 9 a.m. You can get more information in the packet when it's released next week at palmbeachtpa.org/board. And you can watch the meeting live at palmbeachtpa.org/live. And they'll be also hosted in this room.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments on this?
No, Madam Chair, not at this time.
Does anybody from the committee have any comments? No? Oh, there you are, Fadi.
Yeah, regarding item 6, National Dump the Pump Day, would transit be free that day or any incentive?
I'll look it up for you. I don't think there's anything free at this time. I'm not sure if Palm Trend's planning anything for that, but if I do find anything, I'll let you know.
Great, that's a good question. Okay, so next are action items. So we have the amendment number 4 to the TPA's fiscal year 2022 through 2026 Transportation Improvement Program. And Jason Price, the TIP coordinator, will present this item. Remember those who are visually impaired.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to be presenting the fiscal year 22 through 26 Transportation Improvement Program, amendment number 4. This will be the 4th amendment in a row for this particular TIP document. And the nature of this amendment is to a request by FDOT to modify one project and add a new project to this particular Transportation Improvement Program. Following this presentation, not to confuse the two, we'll be formally adopting the fiscal 23 through 27 Transportation Improvement Program, which I'll describe in greater detail following this particular presentation. Currently, we're operating under this Transportation Improvement Program for 22 through 26, and this will be the amendment to that, to this particular document. So amendments come to you for specific reasons that trigger an amendment to be required. And a few of those are met here for both of these particular projects that I'll review. The first is the adding of a new project to the Transportation Improvement Program, and that's the second project that I'll review. The first one is a change in funding amount and source over a specific amount of the total, so that the advancement of those funds warrant an amendment as well. And with all amendments, only the projects that will be discussed as part of this amendment will be impacted in the overall document itself that comprises a large list of projects taken in total that make up the document. So only the projects listed in the amendment will be affected by taking an action today on this item. To start with the first project, it's I-95 at Belvedere Road off-ramp. This amendment is to advance the funds from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 23, changing the construction dates from advancing them to fiscal year 23. And so by doing that, the project will begin construction in late 2023, and then the anticipated completion will be in late 2024. So some of the details about this particular project is it is a road widening project that intends to add a second left turn lane to the southbound off-ramp at Belvedere Road. In addition to the second left turn lane, there will be the inclusion of some landscaping and adding a sidewalk to the south side of Belvedere Road near this particular intersection. The second project is a new project that we haven't seen before and it's being incorporated into this, this particular tip for fiscal year 22 through 26. And this is the addition of, well, it's milling and resurfacing of a ramp at I-95 and PGA Boulevard. And the milling and resurfacing will incorporate high friction surface treatment for skidding, as well as installing speed feedback signs that will indicate if you're traveling over the speed when you're utilizing the off ramps, as well as extending the guardrails to just make it safer overall. So those components in total make up the project overall at I-95 and PGA Boulevard. And those are the two projects that are a part of this particular amendment. And I can answer any questions about these particular two projects if you have any.
Do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, any see, oh, I think Fadi or John? Okay, Fadi.
Okay. For the speed feedback sign, I'm not sure if you have this information. Do you know if they record the information so we can have kind of a speed summary, or it's just kind of a feedback?
I would say it's just a feedback sign with no kind of memory component to capture either photo enforcement or documentation of how frequent the sign indicates that. I could follow up with FDOT to find out, but I've never really seen any analysis or any reports that indicate when you put the signs up that they capture that data and can actually tell you percentage of how many people are going over the speed by way of the feedback sign. But I can ask FDOT if that's incorporated into the technology or if it's just a speed indicator sign that would just show you that you're over the limit, but doesn't capture and store the information on the sign for you to collect it later on.
And just as a follow-up, I know recently we had to do some speed study on Jog Road. It took 8 persons to go and do the speed study. We had to stop traffic, put the hoses and everything. So if DOT can invest in equipment that will store the information, so at least we'll have a speed distribution, that will help us a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I'll follow up with FDOT and I'll get back to you and let you know what kind of data they collect, if any, or if it's just a feedback sign. But that would be good information to have for sure. It wouldn't tell you who's speeding in what lane. I'm imagining these signs are maybe for a single lane, but we'll see.
John?
Good morning. I know there was a lengthy discussion yesterday at the TAC meeting with regards to the Belvedere and I-95 project. And West Palm's reluctant to support the amendment because we haven't had the opportunity to review any of the plans. And I don't know if anybody's seen any of the plans with regards to the project, with the concern that construction's moving up to, in the matter of a couple months, fiscal 23 starts here later this year. So it's not that we're opposed to the project, it's just we don't know exactly what the project is. You talk about the addition of a second left turn lane. There already are 2 left turn lanes coming off of 95 on the Belvedere as you want to go west on the Belvedere. So we're a little confused as to what the full scope of the project is, the exact design, the opportunity to provide feedback on that design. So for something that's within the city limits and we haven't seen a project, see any plans for that project and it moving forward relatively quickly, we're reluctant to approve the amendment.
Yeah, I've received those comments for the TAC and I'm going to get the plans and share it with West Palm Beach. And then I would assume they're going to follow up with some kind of coordination to let you know what's happening there. I mean, they said that the design, everything was on schedule, and then this funding would advance. I'm trying to think of exactly, well, I don't want to paraphrase what they said yesterday at the TAC, but it sounded like from the FDOT perspective, it was, the design was on schedule and this advances the construction. But they described the project with not a lot more information than I had already provided, to be honest. So to get the actual plans, you'll see exactly what's happening, and that'll answer more questions than coming up with more, like uncertainties about exactly what they're doing.
Right, and I think that was our main concern from the city standpoint, is that you're moving forward, not you, but DOT is moving forward to construction relatively soon. And, you know, we haven't seen the project in detail to know, you know, its full scope and impact and so forth. So, and to just the opportunity to provide input on it. So,
which is the normal course for most projects, is to invite the stakeholders to provide input on all of these projects. And so for this particular one, we'll follow up and coordinate.
Yeah, and if, I mean, if it was being moved up to late 2024 for construction, you know, that would be a different story. But the fact that we're literally talking a matter of months, you know, before they commence, that's where the concern is. So that's all. Thank you.
Andrew.
Jason, if you might, I just wanted to provide a little more clarity too. Yesterday, for the TAC meeting, they had one of the private consult managers for this project on, and they said that they're going to be reaching out to West Palm Beach to clear up any issues with that. It sounded like West Palm Beach maybe wasn't in the for this project specifically, wasn't listed as people to review the electronic review submittals. And that's sort of the process that everyone gets notified through. Many of you may already be on those, but it sounds like for some reason West Palm Beach wasn't on this one, and that's sort of like where the lapse was. So, but they said yesterday they'll be reaching out to talk to you all.
David.
I was just curious, that high friction overlay, is that similar to what's on 95, like around 6th Avenue? Because that section of roadway is awful. I mean, it's elevated, and they put what seems like a friction overlay on top of it, and it's on top of the expansion joints. And I mean, you can see cars, you know, jump in the lane marker sometimes. I'm just curious about it, because that's the only place I've ever seen it before.
I haven't been out to 6 to compare it. I know what it is. I know what it looks like. And there's a sound to it as well as driving over it. So there is a noise component sometimes with high friction surfaces, but I couldn't tell you if it's the same fashion as what you've seen in other places.
But I mean, I've only seen it in that place. That's
okay.
The only place I've ever seen it.
Okay.
I mean, maybe it should be on the turnpike off ramp for PGA Boulevard, because when it rains there's usually 2 or 3 cars in the middle. I've never actually seen it at this ramp. But
yeah, it'll be part of the improvements at this ramp. So I don't think they have it currently. And from the feedback that I got from other advisory committees, that it's well overdue. Like the ramp isn't in that great a shape.
So this will recondition the surface too?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I was just curious about it.
Yep.
Thanks.
Mr. Good Enough.
I have a 2-part question about the speed indicator. Do we know if they are using energy efficient lights on it for the display? And the second part is, will it be hardwired to the electrical grid or solar powered?
I'll follow up with DOT to find out. A lot of the times I do see the solar panel on top of the feedback sign. So it's kind of like a standalone unit, because sometimes it's hard to bring electrical conduit out to the roadway in order to electrify a sign unless something's already there. Like if it's in close proximity to a signal with a control box that has electricity available. With this, I suspect that it'll be a standalone sign with a solar panel, so it'll be a standalone unit. But I have to verify to make sure to see if it's completely autonomous to where it's standalone and provides its own power, or if it's supplemented by an electrical conduit that would tie in somewhere along the off ramp to make it powered all the time, regardless of solar power or if there's a battery unit that might be replaced periodically. That could also be, but it sounds like a permanent feature. So they'll have to have a permanent fix of how to provide power to it all the time, as opposed to like a temporary fixture for a construction site over a duration period of time. So I'll find out and follow up.
Thank you.
So yeah, Andrew showed me an illustration of one. And as you would imagine, there'd be the regular posted speed limit sign and then the electronic dynamic messaging sign that would tell you the actual speed that you're actually driving. And at the very top, there's a little solar panel that powers that small LED sign, which I'm inclined to say that that's most likely what it's going to be.
I just looked at the product website, and that's the example they gave, was that the one that you just described, where it's speed limit, and then on the exact same sign right below it, it tells you your speed, and then there's a solar panel at the top.
Jean?
What is a friction overlay and what is speed distribution?
Okay. So the high friction surface overlay is kind of like you'll have basic pavement, asphalt or concrete, usually asphalt. And on occasion, on either curves or depending on how the road is pitched, it'll get slippery. And when it's slippery, it'll become a safety hazard. And so they'll have a more tactile friction surface that has either like some kind of grain, like a sand or something, that they'll incorporate into the mix of maybe the pavement or the overlay of the actual pavement, not necessarily in the asphalt itself, but something that they'll overlay on top of it that'll create a more tactile surface. So there's more grab on the tires during inclement weather or bad weather. I think that's how I understand high friction surface treatments. It's a treatment on top of the existing asphalt or concrete, usually asphalt. And then speed distribution, Bonnie might have a better definition, but the speed distribution could be the distribution of speed amongst all of the lanes and all of the traffic in a particular corridor, as opposed to a single lane. But that's how I understand speed distribution. Fadi, you have anything to add to what speed distribution could be? No, maybe not. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but I figure.
No, it is per 15 minutes. It provides the speed and the number of vehicles and come up with a 10 miles per hour pace, gives you an idea what's going on, the average speed and 85th percentile speed.
So like capturing a point in time, like a 15-minute increment to say this is the distribution of speed amongst all the cars in this particular corridor or segment that you're measuring.
Yeah, it typically summarizes the full day, typical day, a weekday. And the main part of it, at the end, it provides summaries for the 85th percentile and the average speed, the volumes. So you'll have a kind of distribution for every 15 minutes, how many vehicles, and they're usually by 5 miles per hour increment. So you get a full description of what's going on.
Okay.
How do you use that data? Because I can imagine like at 7:45, people might be going 45 and at noon, they might be going 40.
Well, the main way we use the data is basically to determine if we need to do any kind of traffic calming measures or not. But what we started doing 2 years ago is every time we do a speed study, we do about 100 a year. We summarize the data and we provide it to our contact person in the sheriff's office. And we summarize two types of information. One is the period of time with the highest number of people going over 15 miles an hour over the posted speed. And we also provide a summary of the hours where you have the highest speed. I mean, you could have a 40 miles an hour road and people driving over 75 miles an hour. So we provide the summary. This is, you know, it's in our effort to help the sheriff's office do a more targeted enforcement. So if they need to know what the time where most people are speeding, they have those hours. But if they need to have the time where they do racing, literally some road people, I mean, go crazy, then they also have the time and the hours. For example, the study we did on Jog Road, we did it over the weekend also, because we realized Friday evening and Saturdays when they do the kind of, you know, the speed rack or something. So it's pretty useful information.
No, that is good information. My husband drives Jog Road early in the morning and he said everybody's going, because early, like 5 in the morning, everybody's going like 70 miles an hour. So.
A friction course you'll find on every high-speed roadway, I-95, your major arterials or your high-speed arterials. And like you said, it helps with the kind of tactical surface. It also drains the surface better, friction course. On your lower volume roadways, you won't have a friction course. You'll have a structure course and a base course and a stabilized subgrade. But on your high-speed road, you always have friction course. So the friction course overlay is kind of, I'm assuming that they're going to overlay a concrete bridge because otherwise you're going to put friction course down anyway on I-95. So I think that's what it is. And that's what pretty much kind of what he explained. But that's really what friction course is.
Okay.
And you can tell it by looking at it. You'll look at your street, walk outside to your street and look at the pavement, and then go out and look at I-95 and you'll see a difference in the pavement.
Okay, was there anybody else? I just wanted to agree with John Roach on the Belvedere Road off ramp. When you look at it really about the process and how miraculous it seems that you go from engineering to construction within a very short period of time. Those of us who have to get permits from FDOT would like to know how that works. So any information you could help us on that process, how this happened, you know, would be helpful, because I think, you know, not only comments, but it's just, you know, it's good to know. So if there's no more comments, can I get a motion on the amendment number 4?
I'll motion. Ted, good enough.
Okay, Ted has
a second.
Okay, and Fadi has a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so John Roach is the only dissenter. Okay, so the next item is our adoption of TPA's fiscal year 2023 through 2027 tip. And Jason, again, you will be presenting. Thank you.
Okay, so now I'm going to present to you the newest version of the Transportation Improvement Program, and that covers the fiscal years 23 through 27. In the previous amendment, it was 22 through 26. And what you see here is 22 kind of falls off, that year concludes, and we add a new 5th year, which is 2027. So the current year kind of sunsets, and a new 5th year off the farthest year out, and the 5-year horizon is added, and that's 2027. So today I'm going to present for formal adoption the Transportation Improvement Program for those years 23 through 27. And the Transportation Improvement Program has a collection of all of the projects that will be built in that 5-year period. And the Transportation Improvement Program provides the funding for that, is the funding mechanism in order to finance all of the construction projects and operation and maintenance. And as part of our mission to collaboratively plan, prioritize, and fund the transportation system, the TIP acts as the funding mechanism as part of our mission to do that work. And in the development of the TIP document, it first starts with projects being developed in coordination with our local partners and FDOT, coming up with projects and then incorporating them into a list of priority projects. And that list of priority projects is derived through our annual competitive grant program that make up our TPA priority projects by way of the state road modifications, local initiatives, and transportation alternatives grant program. Those programs provide us with a list of priority projects. We provide that to FDOT. They incorporate that into their draft tentative work program. And when they incorporate the TPA priority projects into the draft tentative work program, following that effort, they'll provide a snapshot to us of the all of the projects, and then we'll utilize that to begin to build the TIP document that you see before you today. And last month, I provided a more detailed overview of the document, and that was the informational item that you saw with more details. And today we're here with a final version of it with a more brief overview of the overall document itself. Once this is formally adopted, we'll start to operate under it after it is adopted by our governing board in later on this month. As an overview of the document, it's about $3.6 billion worth of funding in 5 years for a number of different types of projects, and they're all broken out by section here. And strategic intermodal system capacity, SIS capacity, is the lion's share of the amount of funds that are in this particular document. And within the SIS capacity, the state funds make up the lion's share of that amount of funding, and that's because it's broken down. That also includes the turnpike projects, and turnpike projects, they're a self-revenue generating agency, so they are able to collect tolls and implement projects independently, and those are state funds derived from that source. So that's why you see the difference between the amount of federal funds and state funds within that particular section. And then just to note, the local funds, the majority of that funds you see is applied to operation and maintenance of both roadways and transit. Those are the agencies that typically own and maintain a lot of the roadways out there that we use today. So now I'll go over into a few of the independent sections, starting with the strategic intermodal system. So with this particular summary, there's in this section, there's about almost $1.5 billion worth of projects. And the lion's share of those is the Florida Turnpike projects, like I mentioned before, with about $900 million in funding for their types of projects on the Turnpike specifically. And that's followed by I-95 interchange projects, which is about $587 million, those two totaling the lion's share of the strategic intermodal system projects, followed by rest areas and PD&E studies, planning studies to look at future improvements or widenings along the strategic intermodal system. Following that is the state road modifications. This is one of the programs that we administer here to advance making either safety improvements or non-motorized improvements along the state road, along the state roadway system in Palm Beach County. And this particular section has about 116 million programmed within it, with the majority of it being adding lanes or reconstructing roadways, followed by the incorporation of bike lanes, sidewalks, and pedestrian safety features within the projects along the SRM kind of program. And that also includes lighting. There's a State Route 80 lighting that was recently programmed a couple of years back. So that's part of the State Road Modifications program. And lastly, transit shelters for Palm Tran is also part of the State Road Modifications. And the transit shelters are likely on state roadways, probably ramping up for the 561 transit plan, where those would be more larger, more built out stations, possibly for BRT or other services. Now there's two more grant programs to cover here. The first is the local initiatives. This is kind of the middle program where it's about 88 million in between transportation alternatives and state road modifications. So with local initiatives, with the 88 million that's programmed in this particular document, about 43 million, half of the funds are for bike lanes, bike paths, sidewalks, and a roundabout. And then following that, there's about 20 million for transit capacity projects, both for SFRTA and Palm Tran. Palm Tran is doing an electric bus conversion. And so annually they apply for and receive funds to convert their buses to an electric bus fleet, and new train cars for SFRTA to just improve comfort, reliability, and just having new train cars as part of their rolling stock. And then lastly, the transportation planning component is the planning studies and the annual budget for the TPA itself to remain open and do the planning studies that we do for corridors throughout the years. So those two pieces taken in conjunction make up kind of the transportation planning funds for operating the agency, and then completing the planning studies that we do here in-house or through our consultant services. The last program to go over is the Transportation Alternatives Grant, and this is about 10 million. It's the smallest of the three programs that we administer here at the TPA, and the lion's share of these funds are for bike lanes, bike paths, sidewalks, and a pedestrian bridge. Make up the majority of the funds, with some smaller amounts for transit shelters for Palm Tran. And there's about 1 million allocated for lighting on the El Rio Trail. And basically almost 100% of the funds for transportation alternatives, well, they're all used on off systems, so they're not on state roadways. They're usually on local roadways or roadways that are not high volume roadways. We can call them off system roadway projects. And yeah, there's about 10 million allocated within this document. So since you saw this as an informational item last month in May, I've done a few more updates to it. I've reached out with SFRTA and Palm Tran to get more of the updated transit funding to kind of allocate and understand how much funding they anticipate spending in the outer years of 2027, as well as updating and adding any local projects. I reach out to all the municipalities, a part of the governing board, to request local projects to incorporate into the document to make it more complete, to show you all of the projects that are happening within Palm Beach County in a single document. And then lastly, just finalizing the appendices. There's about 5 to 7 items in the appendix, and one of them being the performance measures, targets, and goals. And those are periodically updated as we move through the calendar year, and new performance measures are adopted either by transit or FDOT or the federal government. We incorporate those into this document as we receive them, or and by chance there's a year where the LRTP and TIP are updated on the same year, you see more changes in the performance measures. But just a note that the appendix are kind of finalized and the document is complete at this time. And so with that, I'll answer any questions on the document.
Are there any public comments?
There are none at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. Oh, okay, so Joanne.
I just have one small comment under the TA table, table 3, line 19.3, which is for Loxahatchee Groves. Looks like there might be a typo in the total cost. I think my counterpart brought up a similar typo in a Palm Beach Gardens project last month, so.
Thank you. I'll take a look at it. Thanks.
Okay. Fadi?
For the liaison report, item 2, Safe Street and Road for All Grants Program, I think it's about 1 billion per year for the next 5 years. Proportionately, population-wise, we should be about 4 to 5 million for Palm Beach County. Is there any kind of strategy between TPA, county, DOT to kind of go after these grants and use them for safety projects?
That's a good question, Fadi. Yes, we've been reaching out to FDOT about it, and we're gonna have more discussion in our weekly meeting with them on Monday about opportunities there. Because obviously, the two big roadway owners are Palm Beach County and FDOT. So Valerie Nielsen, our director, met with them, the secretary, just yesterday, and they discussed this grant program specifically. And so we're looking to collaborate together on that. And then if it comes to, obviously, like I said before, there's a lot of upfront planning that can still be done for some cities if they wanted to, identify projects, and we want to help them through that. But then for us, we have identified corridors that are a high crash corridors. So probably putting money in on those, which will probably be mostly FDOT and county roadways, to get more into the design details, setting target speeds, looking at safety countermeasures.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Goodenough.
You were talking a lot about sidewalks and bicycle paths. I did not hear shared use or mixed use paths in that, which would make me very happy. Are there a substantial amount of them?
They are incorporated. Sometimes it's a sidewalk, but I did kind of, I consolidated all the terms into either sidewalk, bike path, or shared use path, because it seems like, but they are incorporated. And that's our preference, is to move more towards a separated, wider facility as opposed to a bike lane or just a sidewalk. We're more preferential to a wider facility to accommodate both, that's separated from the roadway completely. But in occasions where there is road right-of-way constraints, we do the best that we can to incorporate both of those modes in the safest way, or at least the most meaningful way possible, by at least providing some type of facilities. So there are bike paths, or at least shared use paths, incorporated in both the local initiatives and transportation alternatives projects that have been submitted. So they are there, but in combination with that, sometimes municipalities just don't have the right of way to incorporate a wider path. So they opt for either a wider sidewalk that maybe it's a 10 or 12 foot sidewalk. It could be seen as a shared use path, but they just call it a sidewalk just for, I don't know, just for the reasons of calling it a sidewalk, or I don't know, but you know what I mean? It's basically the width. The wider it is, the easier it is to use for everyone. But the nomenclature gets a little muddy sometimes in terms of going after funding and having to fit it into a specific name. In terms of a shared use path, they have minimum requirements, and then they have the shoulder requirements for a shared use path that make it even wider than the actual path that you use, like the 2 foot shoulders on both sides, which might be prohibitive in some areas. And so they don't necessarily call it a shared use path, but it is kind of the same amount of real estate, I guess, the same width of a sidewalk.
Yeah, I'm just vehemently opposed to shared use paths. They're just not safe for persons with disabilities at all. And I've used this example before, a person who is deaf walking down the shared use path, and they don't hear the polite bicyclist say on your left, and their little 3-year-olds running around in front of them. You're just asking, oh, we're gonna take zero vision off the roads and possibly not hit people, and make sidewalks or shared use paths even more dangerous for the people who are trying to use them. And we want to get people out of cars and onto these, but it's just not safe for persons with disabilities. And I think as we go forward as a county, we need to consider everybody who uses these, not just the people who are getting out of their car and starting to now ride a bicycle down these paths. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, John Roach.
Thank you. I just need to make my yearly disclaimer. Obviously, you know, with the TIP, including the State Road 7 extension projects, you know, West Palm's taken the position that we can't support it as it's currently drafted. So, you know, just want to put that out there. That's no discredit to, you know, any of the other projects within there. It's just our opposition to those lead us to not support it as it's currently drafted. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? I don't see any more tags up. Okay. No. So I don't have any comments, believe it or not. So is there a motion to recommend adoption of the fiscal year 2023 to 2027 TIP?
I'll motion.
Greg?
Second.
Joanne did the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay.
Nay.
Hey.
Oh, okay, two nays. And that item passes. So we can move on to information items. There are no information items on this agenda. Okay. Good information. Administrative items. These are 4A and 4B in your agenda packet. One is the governing board summary points, and the second part was the FDOT scheduling. There's no staff presentation on these, but if there's any questions, are there any public comments? Oh, you okay, you had one more.
Chair, yeah, if I may, I just wanted to chime in again about the FDOT scheduling report for our new members. In the backup, we provide this every month and our staff takes some time to do it. It takes about 15, 20 minutes of time. So hopefully it's useful for you all. We provide the milestones in the next 90 days when it comes to products going through the design and construction process, right? So you'll see in there a description of what those phases are. And you really want to pay attention to some of those ones at the beginning part of the process when it comes to preliminary engineering and also the multimodal scoping checklist. So the times where you can really provide good input before it gets too far in the process. So if there's, you know, these are the ones that you'll see going through the electronic review process. But it's a resource for you there. And if we can make it better for you, just give us some ideas on that. But I think it's a good resource to stay on top of.
Was 4B in the agenda? Because I had printed it out and I didn't see it. Does everybody else have it? It's just me. Okay, got it. Thanks. And then our next meeting is July 7th after the holiday. So I guess our meeting's adjourned. Wow, congratulations.